Welcome to Tone Talks. What up, y'all? This is Tone Talks in the building. Shout out to everybody. I hope everybody's doing all right. But I wanted to have a discussion today about what we just saw as far as the stimulus package, the $2 trillion, and give a lot of context on what just went down. I'm looking at this whole thing, and I think that this moment has been coming for some time. It's a tragedy that's happening right now, but I'm hoping that it can lead to Black America becoming more political. Another article that I've read, putting this stimulus in the context, was about black barbers. You should read it yourself. Congress is about to bail out everyone except black business owners. In this article, this brother goes into a whole evaluation of black barbers and black business. As I say that, I go back to Mercer Bardarian's book, Color of Money. In it, she talks about how during slavery, on page 51, we went from being basically butlers and maids to being restaurant owners and barbers and things of the sort. We went from being field hands to being contractors to being working on buildings to being plumbers. These are the jobs that came directly as a result of our legacy and our skill sets. Now you see them cutting those jobs out, not giving those jobs enough respect and not giving those jobs enough understanding. You have the Congressional Black Caucus tweeting about everything but what they need to be tweeting about. This is their tweet today. The CARES Act, that's what it's called, this stimulus package, is a welcome next step to providing some relief for black people around the country, and the CBC will continue to fight for full and equitable relief for our communities in subsequent stimulus packages. Understand that they didn't make no effort to have black people recognized specifically in this bill. Understand that they made no effort, this CBC, no effort to make sure that very, very small micro businesses, because that's what a lot of these black businesses are, they're micro businesses. To give that some context, I want you to go back to our report that I did with the one I did with Sandy Derry along with several other economists, what we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap. In it, on page 33, I'm going to read a small section to give this context, because a lot of people don't know this. In reality, the data paints a daunting picture for diversity and entrepreneurship. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's survey of business owners, SBA, which is conducted every 5 years, over 90% of Latino and black firms do not have even one employee other than the owner. The proportion of owner-only firms reaches a high of close to 98%. 98% for the subgroup of black female-led businesses. The entire SBA program that they've set up is set up for businesses that have employees. Even if you're a micro business with 10, 15, or 20 employees, you really don't even access this as a single person that just is trying to stay alive and doing hair or being a barber. There's no end for you inside of this program. And the Congressional Black Caucus made no push for you. Zero. They didn't push to recognize by neighborhood or even by specific race, let alone lineage, black folk as a group that don't have employees but need to have assistance well beyond just being called unemployed. They didn't want to recognize, carve out anything for you. And I'm saying this because now we're looking at a thing that requires you, understand, to have certain access to certain things. I want to share with you, because this thing is about getting SBA loans, right? I want to share with you a little something that I posted on Twitter. You can go catch it on my Twitter right now. SBA loans look at credit score, not only of yourself, but also your business's credit score. Age of your business. How long has it been a business? Not just like how long you've been doing hair or cutting hair. It's like, how long have you been filing taxes? How long have you had credit cards in the business name? How long have you had a retail location in the business name? Annual revenue. Lenders often require businesses to bring in annual revenue of at least $50,000 to $150,000. Personal debt to credit ratios. So even if your credit good, and then you've been living by, making this business work by pulling credit out, if your debt to credit high, you don't get none of this anyway. Net operating income, To be sure that you can meet repayment requirements, some lenders look for a total income that at least is 1.25 times greater than the total expenses. Potential collateral? What's your collateral for your business? See, I don't know if we understand that these micro businesses that Black America is built on, that 90% that don't have employees that are overall, that 98% of Black female businesses that don't have employees, they don't fit in this SBA plan at all. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be in a micro business. You got to do what you got to do to survive. But I am saying that America forgot you, and that the Black Caucus forgot you, and that ADOS remembers you and calls out the Black Caucus in America for forgetting you. I don't understand how we sit here moving towards 2,000 people in the chat and don't have 10,000 people. 10,000 people that are unemployed. 10,000 Black folk in America that need to be calling on their Congressional Black Caucus member to ask the question of, why did I elect you? Why are you here? You are here to serve me. Not companies, not Comcast, not President Trump, not Biden. You are here to serve me, your constituents. What do you think happens to Louds County, Alabama, if before the pandemic they had feces in their backyard, to the point that the UN said that they live in conditions that are worse than the first world? What happens to them after the pandemic? How fast do you think that those people get the coronavirus? People with feces in their backyard. I'm saying this because I don't know if everybody hearing me yet. Marlon, I see you. I think this pandemic and stimulus package has the potential to widen the racial wealth gap. I also do. I think that largely this money will go to white companies, to white small businesses, to white corporations, to white stockholders, to white families that have filed their taxes and will get the stimulus. I think this will go to white families because states will choose to give it to white families throughout the red South over Black families. I believe that you don't understand that the Congressional Black Caucus failed you this week. That America did not remember you. Not in a specific way you need to be remembered. But the only way that you really get remembered is to remember yourself and demand reparations. Which brings us all back to why we got to a point where America can give stimulus in less than a few weeks, but not give reparations in 400 years. If we just want to talk about after Lincoln, it's been 120 years. 130 years. We can't get our reparations, though, without giggles and laughs and you guys are divisive, or we want to give it to all Black people no matter if they came in 1980. Slavery ended. Slavery was 100 years ago, but you want to give reparations to people that got here 30 years ago, 25 years ago, because we all come from Africa at some point. The nonsense. They are telling you that you don't exist, but you need to understand that you have to believe you exist to be here. It's too expensive. Another article called the SBA to oversee vast lending program under federal economic stimulus plan breaks this thing down. The measure includes a provision for loan forgiveness for businesses that retain their workers to rehire ones that were laid off, according to the majority staff of the Small Business Committee. Again, this basically goes back to this whole thing is set up for people who have employees. Our businesses don't have employees. This isn't set up for people who actually are running a business by themselves, whether it's a Lyft driver, a barber. They are their own business. They didn't do anything for you but unemployment. You can finally stop saying that you a business and go back on the unemployment line and hope that they treat you right. That's what they're saying. I'm looking and I'm unpacking this thing and I'm asking the question, coronavirus stimulus checks are coming, but who is actually get one? Who will get a stimulus check? Anyone with a social security number who is living and working in the United States should be eligible for the relief payments. If you've been working and paying taxes since 18, you don't have to apply or fill out any forms. It'll just come to you. How many of y'all know people in your life that didn't pay their taxes for whatever reason? Now, there's this whole thing that there's a low threshold of there's $12,000 where you don't have to report. How many of y'all know people that made more than $12,000 but didn't report? That's the sweet spot, is to make like 27, 28, and you just didn't report. You just didn't report because you didn't want to get hit with your Lyft bill or whatever it was. There's no way to go back and fix that now. And how much money will you get? Again, we went through the amounts. For people, this is an example of how it'll tear off, though. For people who make more than $75,000, payments will reduce by $5 for every $100 of income that exceeds that limit. So, for example, if you make $85,000, you'll receive $700 in payment. When will you get a stimulus check? We went over that earlier. It'll be a month, or it might be 4 months if you need that physical check. How will you get a stimulus check? The money will go directly to your account. Another article I see from NBC kind of breaks it down even further. Coronavirus checks, direct deposits are coming. Here's everything you need to know. How much will I get? Depends on how much you make. We just went through that. When is the money coming? Treasury Secretary Mnuchin said within 3 weeks. We'll see if he can hit that deadline, but I think it's more like 4, and that's just the direct deposits. Will there be multiple payments? No. This legislation only authorizes one-time payments, but House Speaker Nancy Pelosi suggested on CNN that Congress could revisit that. Where do I sign up? You don't. There is no sign up. The payments will be automatic. They say don't call the IRS. Don't try to call the IRS. Understand that if you didn't file your taxes at 1819 and you feel like you should get it, you would have to get the businesses that have your 1099s and your W-2s, if they aren't online, to give you that while they're closed. You then would have to send it in to the IRS because you can't go down there. They're closed. And then you would need them to process it at the IRS. This isn't built for people who aren't already in the system and haven't filed their taxes. So if you didn't have your stuff together, don't bank on this stimulus. I'm not saying that eventually you can't clean your stuff up and maybe get it in the future, but if you didn't file your taxes, don't bank on this stimulus because I don't know how they're going to get it to you. How will the money be sent? If you've got the tax refund in the last 2 years by direct deposit, that's where the money will be sent. If not, the IRS can mail a check to you for your last known address. Now, again, the Democratic aide said 4 months. I'm not saying that's guaranteed, but it sounds about right because they got to print checks. And then they got to put them in envelopes, and then they got to set all that up. That's not easy. The easy thing first, and that's still hard, is the direct deposits, and that's going to happen first. And they're going to get all those done, then they're going to do the physical checks. How does the government calculate how much I earned? Have you filed your 19 taxes? If so, the checks will automatically be based on your 19 return. If not, then they'll look at your 18 return. I'm on Social Security or don't make enough to file a tax return. Will I get a check? Yes. Even if you didn't file a tax return for 18 or 19 or pay taxes those years, you will be eligible. See, but what they're not saying is how long it'll take. I'm a disabled vet but don't pay taxes. Do I qualify? Yes. Same problem. I'm a college student. Do I get a check? If your parents claim you as a dependent on their taxes, you're not eligible. I'm just making it clear for y'all people who are dependents. I made too much money in 2019 to qualify, but now I'm laid off. Am I out of luck? Not necessarily, but you'll have to wait. And when we talk about wait, we talk 6 months, a long time. I'm not an American citizen. Do I qualify? Yes, as long as you're living and working in the U.S. with a valid Social Security number. That's what they're doing. Are the cash payments taxable? Nope. What if I'm homeless or recently out of prison? As long as you have a Social Security, you should be. Let me say it again. As long as you have a Social Security number, you should be eligible to apply for the relief payments. But they just say you don't have to apply. See, you don't have to apply if you got direct deposit and you filed your taxes. It sounds like you got to apply if you're homeless or you fresh out of jail, but ain't nowhere to apply right now. That's what we dealing with. I owe back taxes. Will the IRS snatch my check? The bill does not exclude you from getting a payment if you owe past due taxes. That said, the IRS has yet to set up the new system. So we don't know if they're going to just garnish that check soon as it hit. One more thing is, will retired seniors also get a stimulus so long as they are not listed as dependent for someone else as well, just like the college students? I'm trying to explain this thing, break it down. One article I do recommend you going to read, and this is a few days old, and AOC, I say a lot about her background and everything, but she did stand up today on Congress and make a huff about the reality that this thing has still been structured to help corporations far too much, corporations that didn't deserve a bailout. The article is from Common Dreams. The Senate corporate bailout package is a robbery in progress. Warn critics, it's not a bailout for the coronavirus. It's a bailout for 12 years of corporate irresponsibility. In this article, they go on to break down how irresponsible it is to give, say, companies like airlines who make huge amounts of cash on baggage fees and then use that for stock buybacks to give them a bailout now because they don't have the money to survive. You have the Cheesecake Factory saying they're not going to pay their rent. They just not gonna pay rent on April 1st. You have, I believe, Abercrombie and Fitch. Don't quote me. You have UK Burger King saying they're not gonna pay their rent on April 1st. And I think that more companies will follow suit. But somehow there isn't this judgment of those companies being irresponsible in the same way as it is for individuals. I wanted to do this show today to come to you to unpack this thing. I wanted to bring this discussion because it was a necessary one, because this stimulus package came out, and some of us, it might help because it might lead your job to be able to not have to terminate you. But a lot of us won't understand the impact of not getting the stimulus check that we're waiting on, because we don't understand the importance that they're saying of basically being a functional American. And a lot of us are not functional Americans, not structurally, economically functional Americans, because we were cut out of America. Again, we have the same circle of blaming us for the consequence of blackness rather than fixing blackness. Again, we have the same reality of a black caucus that has not done the work to make sure that it recognizes why we don't have we're unbanked at a 14 to 20% rate, why we are uninsured at a 12 to 20% rate, why we aren't American and made whole. I wanted to have this discussion. Please go to tonetalks.org to subscribe or donate. Share this video. We're going to get the discussion going and make people talk about this thing. But in the moment where we got the stimulus, I want people to never forget we're still owed reparations. I'm out.